Hello, this is Justin Beal, and today we're going to try to hook up Google Authentication to our Next.js application we built in our previous session. In my previous video, I set up a CI/CD solution in Next.js automatically deploying to Vercel. So this is our site here. We can see we have Hello World, but right now what I want to do is actually add some Google Authentication to this. Let's head over to Cursor and see what we can do. I'm going to say, I want to add Google Authentication to my project. I would like to have a login page with just Google Auth as an option. Can you help me out with this? I am new to Next.js. I'm going to have it scan the whole project as it does that. Let's see what it came back with. It says to add Google Authentication to your project, you can use the Next Auth library, which simplifies the process of adding authentication to your application. That's pretty cool. Below are the steps to set up Google Authentication. Let's yarn add Next Auth Google. So it looks like that is a little out of date. What I'm going to see if I can do is say, this seems like it is out of date. Can you reference the current Next.js authentication page for updates? I'm going to paste that there. All right, let's run this. I think the Google Next Auth is not what we want, so we're just going to take just yarn add Next Auth. Now it's there. It says create API route for authentication. In your source pages, auth Next.js. Let's see if we can do that. We're going to say next source, and we're going to create a new folder called pages, new folder called API, new folder called, and then we're going to add a new file. Let's just call it nextauth.ts. And instead of here, let's copy these, paste that in there. Now it says add environment variables to your env local file. I don't have an env local. I wonder if I just say new file right here, .env.local, client ID secret, put that in there. Create a page, a login page. So we're going to say pages, and we're going to say new file. And we're just going to call this login.tsx. And then inside of here, it gives us a little bit of an example of a login page. Maybe clean that up later. Protecting routes, to protect the routes and ensure that only authenticated users can add a certain page. You can use the get session method from Next Auth React. Here in this example in pages index.tsx. Okay, let's say index.tsx, and we're going to copy that. And we'll probably have to fix some things as we go. Update the app.tsx. Wrap your application with the session provider in app.tsx. Okay. So it's saying this should be in source pages. Let's say new file. Got a lot going on here so far. And then we'll take a step back and look at what it wants. Ensure that tsconfig includes the necessary types. Yeah, let's look at that real quick. If we go to tsconfig, we have compile options. We should already have a types. Yeah, let's make sure we can add our next auth inside of there. This is pretty straightforward. Let's see what we actually have if we do this. So in our current app, we're going to call this our Assistify app. And let's review things coming from the top. So it's going to import this. It's going to say from our next app. Yep. Assistify app. It's going to take some things. It looks like a regular component. Let's see if the thing actually starts. Failed to compile. Conflicting app page was found. Please remove the conflicting files to continue. I wonder if we were just to yank this out, what would happen? Okay. All right. So we deleted that and reload. And what we have is a very ugly login page. And we'll work with that in a second. Now it's saying this cannot be found. Okay. So let's ask it, how can we get these variables set that it said? How can I set these environment variables? Can you walk me through the steps I need to set them up. We need to create a Google Auth 2.0 client ID and secret. Go to the Google console. Let's do that. We visit the Google console. Click on the project dropdown and set new project. Yeah. Let's say new project. And then we're going to call it, let's create that. Now what's it say? We're going to go to API Services Library. So API Services Library. And then we're going to search for Google Plus API and click it. So Google Plus API, and we're going to click it. And then we're going to enable. All right, so that's enabled. And then let's see. Let's go to API Services Credentials. API Services Credentials. And we're going to say create credentials, select OAuth 2 client. Where's create credentials, OAuth client. Configure the consent screen if prompted. Choose web application. Add as the authorized JavaScript. Okay, configure consent screen. Choose how you want to configure and register your app. Target users. You can only associate one app with your project. Yeah, let's do external. Now what's it saying? Choose web application. And let's add localhost 3000. Our app name is Assistify. And then we have our email. I'm not going to upload a thing right now. App domain to protect the users. Google only allows apps OAuth to use authorized domain. The following information will show. Provide users a link to your homepage. We'll get there. I wonder if we actually need that right now. Save and continue. Developer contact. We're going to add me. I'm going to keep saving and continue. I didn't see the JavaScript stuff it asked for me to add, but we can deal with that in a little bit. Get your client after creating the credentials. You will see your client ID and secret. Copy those values. Okay, so credentials. We created credentials. There we go. It's going to be a web application. It's going to be assisted web login. We want to add JavaScript origin. It's going to be our local host. We're going to add our redirect to here, it looks like. We're going to create that. Here's our client ID and secret right here. We're going to go over to our env local. Our client ID is this. Our secret is this. You can generate a random secret for Next.js secret using a tool like random.org or any other. Yeah, let's do that real quick. I didn't realize that can just be any string. Get strings. We'll take this as our Next.auth secret. Following these steps, this expects a actual string here, so we can say boom just for right now. Let's see if we go back to our local host and we inspect. Go to console real quick. All right, let's sign in with Google. Do we actually get, oh, no. Page API, what are we doing wrong here? We went pretty quick. If we look at this, clearly it's redirecting to login, right? Is that our route? If I go to localhost 3000, it routes me to login, but I'm having this right here, unexpected. I don't know what this network error is that it's actually hitting, that is yelling about. So let's look at that real quick. It's trying to go to API auth session. API auth, should this be called session? I wonder if we can just copy all of this and we'll put it into our stuff over here. See what it says. Verify your environment variables and code. Check the server logs. Verify your Google Auth. Okay, restart your development. Yeah, let's try restarting the development starter. Okay, so now what we get is this particular error. So let's see what it says here. See what that says. That's a little bit. Okay, ensure the file name. Oh, the file needs to be exactly named that. I thought that was just like something. I didn't realize that was the actual file name. That's interesting. All right, so now it loaded up. Let's try again and see what happens. Oh, dang, look at that. We have a Google Auth. I'm going to click this. Yeah, let's sign in. Welcome, Justin Beal. And we did it. So that was pretty cool. We set up Next.js using Google Authentication with a simple login page. What I'd like to do is get this pushed up to our Assistify app real quick in Vercel, so that way we can verify that we have everything configured correctly up there. And then we might do some styling if there's time. Let's push this up. So we added the next auth. That makes sense. Probably a bunch of changes in the yarn lock. We removed the default stuff here. We have our app TSX. We have our index, which is just a home page, our login, and then our next auth. Let's say add Google Auth to application. And then let's commit. That's building. I'm going to come over here and say, how can I add this to my Vercel application? It is deployed to, and let's give it the URL, deployed to here. How can I configure my build and environment variables? Add environment variables. It says update our Next.js. It already looked like that. Deploy your changes. Check for deployment, debugging, the logs. One thing I'm going to do right now is going to remove our actual console for our client ID and secret. It mentioned going into the Vercel dashboard, which we'll do that. Let's open. Here's my project. We're going to go to that. And then it mentioned setting secrets, environment variables. Okay, let's set our environment variables. And then right here, we're going to add the secret. And then we're going to add our client. And we're going to add our next auth secret. All right, let's just verify that those are the correct. It looks like it's correct. Okay. And then inside of our Google Auth page, we're probably going to have to add some stuff here. Let's save all of this. So we have our secrets added. And then what we're going to have to do is if we come back to our Assistify app, here's our domain. And we're going to come back into our credentials and our login. I wonder if we can, yeah, we're going to add a JavaScript origin. Oh, they must not end with a slash. And then we're going to add another URI, which is going to be exactly the same, but just have our domain. We're going to save that. Looking at our deployment in GitHub, what happened? Vercel deploy failed. Invalid URL. Okay, so this is interesting. That's where it's failing. Why? When I am trying to build my app with the changes, I get the following error. The error kind of suggests that an issue with the invalid URL parsing the next auth configuration. This could happen if the environment variables are not set correctly, or there is an issue with the URL format. Step one, and okay, verify your environment variables are set correctly in the mlocal file and on Vercel. Update the configuration file to include the next URL. Update ESLint configuration, remove any deprecated options. Restart your server. Let's say I am doing this through a GitHub action. What would I have to change? Oh, we'll actually have to add those inside of our build. That makes sense. It looks like we need to add just these secrets to our build. I don't know if we actually need this next auth URL, but we do need these. So I'm going to come over here and as I'm going to go into my Vercel deployment, and we already have some environment variables here. Let's put those here. Let's go update our GitHub project to have these new secrets. So we're going to go into GitHub and we're going to go into our secrets. Inside of here, we're going to say new repository token. I'm going to put our secret name, and then we're going to grab it from our file, add that secret, and then we're going to go and grab this secret, update that, put that there. Next auth secret is the final one, and then we're going to put that there, and let's add secret, and let's retrigger the build and see what happens. See if it actually plays nice this time. So we can see we had an error here. We're going to rerun the failed job. Let's rerun. And let's see what it's doing. Looks like we're running our deploy to Vercel right now. And this is where it aired out before. We'll see if it actually passes, and it did not. Invalid URL. Maybe we actually need that next auth URL that it said. So what did it say to add for this? Our next auth URL is going to be that. And where did it say to add it? Our next auth URL is, I think we just need to put that into our settings too. Let's go back to our secrets and we'll say new repository secret. Add the next auth URL, which is going to be this right here. Add secret. We're going to push up these changes real quick. We're going to say add secrets to GitHub action for Vercel deploy and authentication. Let's commit those. When we get pushed, we still have to add the URL. So what we're going to do, we need to add that next auth URL in here too. Let's add that, and we're going to push that up. Let's say add next auth URL to GitHub secrets for Vercel deploy. Push that one more time, and hopefully this is the magic that gets us actually deployed and working in our production app. And it's doing its build now. And it looks like it worked successfully with those changes to our environment variables. So that is pretty cool. All right, and it says it's build complete and it should be deployed. Let's check out our app real quick and see what that looks like. If I reload, oh, we're to our login page. I'm going to sign in with Google. Access blocked, authorization error. OAuth client was found. Invalid client. Wonder if there were some other things where I actually needed to enable things. I skipped over some stuff because it wasn't published. Let's try publish app. What if we publish the app? Push to production. Any user with a Google account, if you change your app's computer, like adding request underscore, you'll need to submit for verification. Let's publish the app. It's in production. Make external. User cap, rate limits. Let's try one more time. OAuth client was not found. Invalid client. We had added some secrets, some environment variables. We have our next auth client secret ID. Maybe we try adding the next auth URL to there. I don't think that'll matter. I don't think these are the same, but it doesn't hurt to try. We're going to do that. We're going to add our Assistify. We're going to save it. We have our next auth URL, secret, client ID secret. And then look one more time at our Google provider, secret. And then it has this callbacks here. So let's try adding that. Maybe that had something to do with it. Okay, so let's push that up and see if that has any changes on it. We'll say add callback to next auth. Let's test that out locally just to see. Make sure that didn't break anything. Let's see if that actually still works. We're going to sign in with Google, and I'm not getting anything. And I'm going to select this one. Let's continue. And that looks right. Let's push that up and see if that had any impact on it. Okay, and it says it deployed. Let's try one more time. If we reload here and we say sign in with Google, there we go. So if I select Justin Beal, I can see welcome Justin Beal, and that is deployed to our production application. With our login and CI/CD setup, what we're going to do is we're going to use an example from the Leap playbook of quickly prototyping using Claude artifacts. This is great if you just want to generate an idea, you want to see something to go through. Our login page was pretty simple. So what I want to say is I want a login page with a Google Authentication logo to log in. And it is for an app called Assistify. It should use Tailwind as a CSS framework and have a modern look and feel. It should use React and have a dark theme. Let's send that off and see what it creates. Certainly, I'll create a React component for our login page with Google Authentication for your Assistify app. It will use Tailwind CSS for styling and have a modern dark theme look and feel. All right, it's going through and creating a bunch of things. That's great. This is a good start. Let's say, can you add a logo for the Assistify app? Can you make up something that seems cool and relevant? The app is used to interact with open AI assistants. Certainly, I'll create a simple logo for your app. Let's see what it does. So create something for us. I'd probably change out the logo at some point. But if we look at the code, it just created our whole login page for us. I'm going to take my current and say, this is my current login page. Can you incorporate the functionality that exists in this page into our artifact? I'm just going to paste that and let's see what it spits out. So that way we don't have to deal with our changes. So it's going to generate a new thing. Looks like it's got all the other stuff still there. It's adding the logo and it's going through and creating everything. So it gave us a little bit of extra stuff. Let's put this back in here and see if we have login, and we called it login. And this component is not found. Where's this component at? Where does it come from? And then we asked it about our UI component for the button, which assumed it was in a separate component. Now it made it all together. Let's take all of this and we're going to paste it over here. And we're just going to call this login and login. So it's the same. Save. Looks like it's working well. If we say yarn dev now, it started. Let's see what that looks like in our local host. Whoa, I thought Tailwind was integrated here. We already have Tailwind in here, but what I want to say is, let's start a new chat. It does not look like Tailwind CSS is being picked up here. How can I add it to my login page? Let it figure its stuff out. To ensure Tailwind, we have both of these. Create or update a global CSS file. So if we go source, and we're going to say new folder, styles, and we're going to say new file, we're just going to call it global.css, and then import the Tailwind directives. We're going to put these in here. And then our app TSX, we're going to import. So we have our app TSX. Let's import those global styles and verify that it's correct. Okay, so if we say yarn dev now, what happens? And then if we look at our login page, there we go. We have our Tailwind set up. We're going to continue. There we go. In a couple minutes, we just have a simple styling added to our site. It looks a lot prettier than it did before. Just to recap, this is from the LEAP playbook, which is LLM Enhanced Agile Programming. And what we did is we used Claude to quickly prototype our login page and add Tailwind CSS and create a simple logo for us. All right, with our change to our local, let's push everything up, verify that we can see our styling changes, and that'll probably be it for today. Add styling to login page. I'm gonna commit, and then we're gonna git push that. Check in on our deploy real quick. And it looks like it was successful. And if we come back over to our app and reload, there we go. If we sign in with Google, we come over to select our account and we have our logged in page, and I'm going to sign out. And with that, we added Google Authentication, some styling to our Assistify UI project. Once again, this is Justin Beal. I hope you enjoyed the journey. To summarize what we did today, we added Google Authentication to a Next.js app, setting it up with continuous integration and continuous delivery using GitHub Actions. This involved creating the app in the Google console, pulling down secrets, making sure everything was configured correctly, and then using Claude to help rapidly generate a prototype for our front end using Tailwind CSS. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a great day and enjoy your coding journey.